You're watching NTV.
Today's highlight with
New geisha with extracts from Mother Nature.
But your fiance's mentioned me.
No, not just her. Your fame precedes you in the entire region. Antonia, you're a legend because of your beauty and your charm.
You flatter me. This is my son, Alejandro, the manager of my mining company.
Alejandro, it's a pleasure and an honor to shake your hands.
My mom always wants what's best for us. That's why she uses new geisha with extracts from nature. New geisha with extracts from Mother Nature.
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of fingers counting the number of multinationals setting up here. What about the 3 companies that announced their plans to launch last week? I say they're shortly. Me, I'd be looking to sell. At what price? More. Much, much more. I don't know who you are or how you know these things, but one thing I'm sure of, you're in the wrong job. Here, call me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to hear more from you.
Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
How sweet the morning air is. I mean, see how that one little cloud floats like a pink feather away from the gigantic flamingo. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's all happening here on Morning at NTV. Coming to you live from the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop. This is the hottest morning ticket, and we are guaranteeing you that it's going to be awesome. The name is Brian Mlondo, Simon Kasiate, Joel Senyonyi, Isma, and Mabel, all ready to make sure you have a power-packed, inspirational morning. Let's get started with the question of the day. The avenues are simple. Head over to our Facebook page, Morning at NTV. About 11,000 people over there like our page and, of course, answer the question. You can also head over to our Twitter, which is at Morning at NTV. Follow us first. And, of course, tell your friends to follow us too and answer the question. It's very simple. But also, you can use the SMS platform, 6565. And you can hashtag, maybe, you can hashtag Easter. Happy Easter, something. Just hashtag. We'll be creating that hashtag very soon and let you know what to use. But the first 5 respondents will each walk away with a mag from Morning at NTV. And good luck to all of you. Standing by at the NTV studios is Mabel Kebirunji with the stories that are making headlines later. The press review, proudly brought to you by Uganda Telecom, the big story, everyday life, and the sports update. Welcome to an awesome morning. Are you feeling the same, Mabel, this morning?
Yes, I am, Bran. Another day for us to celebrate life. A good morning to you too, and welcome to Morning at NTV. For now, the headlines. Another audio recording of a discussion between the IGP and Deputy Lord Mayor has leaked. The leaders of opposition insist on immediate suspension of the IGP, and President Museveni gives back more than 200 land titles to Buganda Kingdom.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
A social media critic of the NRM regime has leaked yet another audio recording of a discussion between the police chief, General Kale Kaihura, and the deputy Lord Mayor of Kampala, Sulaiman Chidandala. The recording has General Kaihura interrogating Chidandala about the Kampala Lord Mayor's meetings with the former FDC leader, Kizza Besigye. Sudhir Biaruhanga has more.
The latest leaked recording of the conversation between the police chief and the deputy Lord Mayor of Kampala reveals a plot of stopping the Kampala Lord Mayor's activism around the city. The Inspector General of Police expresses his concern about Elias Lukwago's conduct in the recording.
Well, I don't know, but if you look at it from my own experience, from public order management point of view, yes, definitely the Lord Mayor has not been helpful. If you look at how did we lose our officer Arion?
Yes, Arion, yes.
You see, the man with Besigye.
Yes.
What is the, he's a mayor, how does Besigye come in? He's always hobnobbing with Besigye. They create situation.
The Lord Mayor has spent a great deal of time trying to agitate for regime change on the streets of Kampala with the former FDC president, Dr. Kizza Besigye. But their attempts were foiled by the government that deployed police to constantly track them down. The recording has a voice of the man that sounds like the Deputy Lord Mayor, blaming KCC Executive Director Jennifer Musisi for causing Lukwago's downfall.
If you can monitor his movements right from 2011 at the beginning and then come closer to around the mid-year, he had completely given up activities to do with Kizza Besigye. What could have pushed him back was the frustration he experienced when Jennifer Musisi chose to throw him out of almost the entire system and the entire network. She closed down all the privileges, everything, and he had no choice. At some point, he kept on making statements. One, he kept on telling me, you see, I'm left with no option. Because if you have an office, you either get political capital out of it or financial capital out of it.
It is still not clear how many people were speaking with General Kaihura at the time, but the tape has the voice of the third person.
No better clear before Fande. No better clear before Fande. Better clear before Fande.
An unidentified voice of a person in the meeting is heard demanding for money to pay hotel and other bills. But the police chief responds by saying the force has no money to pay, but offers the person his pocket change.
This is the second tape that has leaked to the media in less than a month. On 6th April, another tape leaked in which the police chief had a secretive discussion with a man purporting to be a supporter of Prime Minister Amama Mbabazi.
It is in the course of investigation, we interview, and the process of interviewing, we use all means. We use the pen. Now aren't you recording me now? Yes. Yes, you are recording me. So you think you have the monopoly of recorders? We also record using a recorder. It's open. There is no secret about it. You know, we are making it as a secret.
It is not clear whether the conversation was meant to help police with their investigations into protests around the city. Sudhir Biaruhanga, NTV.
Leaders of the opposition are insistent about the immediate suspension of the Inspector General of Police, Kale Kaihura, and Pius Bigirimana, the Permanent Secretary in the Gender Ministry, following the recently leaked audio recordings. They allege that the two used money set aside for the recently launched Youth Livelihood Program for government projects.
The leaked audio recordings continue to raise debate. Weighing in now are the leaders of various opposition parties who now accuse the Inspector General of Police, Kale Kaihura, and the Permanent Secretary in the Gender Ministry, Pius Bigirimana, of diverting funds worth 40 billion shillings meant for the Youth Livelihood Program to fund government covert political projects. They further assert that the fund was illegally set up and that is now being misused.
we learn that mere telephone instructions, the notorious orders from above, in this case, orders from General Kaihura, are sufficient basis for PS Bigirimana to disburse funds to arbitrarily designated individuals.
The youth livelihood program was passed by Parliament where opposition is officially represented. And I think they can call the government and the minister in charge, the Minister for Gender, to come and account for the policy, account for the resources that perhaps have been released.
The opposition leaders further accused General Kaihura of being a partisan NRM cadre.
It touches on the core of the state structure, that the state institutions today, as they are totally fused with NRM, which happened right from 1986.
They now want a select parliamentary committee to be set up to carry out investigations on the leaked tapes, the conduct of the IGP, as well as his resignation and that of Bigirimana.
General Kaihura should immediately be suspended from his position and duties as IGP.
He sees as if there is nothing in any other civilized society. Inspector General of Police would not even have spent the second day in that office.
We would challenge them to bring a voucher check that has been used to withdraw money purportedly for youth livelihood program, but was spent on something else.
The government, however, continues to dismiss all their claims as baseless.
We are used, however, to outlandish opposition claims.
Last week, the Inspector General of Police said that the leaked recordings were stolen and the matter was under investigation. Since then, however, more recordings have emerged, adding more heat to an already guarded matter. Suhail Mugabi, NTV.
President Museveni has given back more than 200 land titles of estates and administrative chiefs' land that were taken from the Buganda Kingdom in the mid-1960s by the Obote regime. The land titles were handed to the Mengo delegates led by the first Deputy Prime Minister, Ambassador Emmanuel Sendaula. The handover ceremony took place at State House NTV yesterday.
The handover of properties belonging to Buganda Kingdom follows a memorandum of understanding signed between the central government and the kingdom in August last year. In the memorandum, the government undertook to ensure all confiscated properties of Buganda would be returned. This function has put into action the agreement signed last year. 213 land titles have been handed over to the authorities at Mengo, the seat of Buganda Kingdom. These include Masaza or parishes and county headquarters, administrative chiefs' land and estates or Amagombolora. The president has urged the kingdom to use the restored properties constructively in order to promote income generation among its subjects.
Many Ugandans are lazy and they don't work. And because they are lazy, we remain poor when we are very rich.
President Museveni also urged Buganda to give some of its restored land to ethnic groups like the Baluli and Banyala for developmental purposes. Authorities in Mengo have promised that they won't evacuate the current occupants of the land.
We are not going to chase people off land. We want them to come and negotiate with us so that they regularize or legalize their stay on that land. But if they don't, then we'll have no option but to deal with them.
We shall move ahead to make sure that we support this. We support the restoration and even those property that are not yet restored. We shall make sure that we follow up this case until when all the property are restored.
It has gone down in history that today is the day that the central government returned some of Buganda's properties. The question still remains, how long is it going to take the government to return the remaining properties to Buganda? Solomon Kawesa, NTV Tonight.
Those are the headlines here at Morning at NTV. To find out what's making headlines in the press, we turn to Simon, Joel and Brian.
Uganda Telecom is all about you. It's the very brand that brings you this morning's edition of Morning at NTV's Press Review. It's a wonderful Wednesday morning, not quite rainy like it was yesterday. It's the 16th day of April 2014. And yes, as we count down to the death and resurrection of the Messiah, we're here to bring you the very best in what appears in the Daily Monitor and the Red Pepper as they hit the stands this morning. My name is Simon Kasiate. I'm joined by my good old friends, Joel and Brian. Good morning, good people. Morning.
Good morning.
You seem to be very consistent with the bow ties.
This
is the Holy Week, and bow ties, so that is standard operating procedure. But I'm sure you should be looking at
I saw someone
who
was trying
the dress
to dress
down
like you,
issue of having jackets and khaki
Wednesday.
trousers as opposed to the suave and debonair suits.
Okay.
That tells you of the holiday mood that I am in. Of course, let's not forget
Did they
that
give
we'll
you
be
property
joining
also,
hundreds of Christians in the way of the cross on Friday morning.
Yeah.
And certainly we'll bring you the press review from the walks as it will be on Friday. So make sure you wake up with your walking shoes to join your faithfuls in simulating that walk that the Messiah did carry out before he was hanged for our sins. Daily Monitor this morning, don't evict tenants, government tells Buganda. Now, let's not forget that yesterday, in what I always term as masterstroke of political genius, President Yoweri Museveni, 2 years before the next election, did appease a section of the populace by handing over 200 or is it 2,000 land titles to Buganda. Let's not forget that this kingdom, the largest tribal grouping in Uganda, has been clamoring for their lost property as a result of acrimonious relations between the central government and the kingdom way back in the 60s. And part of this property is returned every so often. And the latest is this amount of land that was returned to the kingdom. With a caution, though, do not evict the tenants on this land. And yesterday, we saw the Attorney General of Buganda coming out very clearly and saying they will negotiate with the tenants on the land and try to harmonize the relationship so they can so that they appreciate that they are tenants on the land and not owners, and should be able to formalize what tenants do to landlords. But if they fail to do so, they will be left with no choice but to evict them.
Of course, now direct payment going to be going to Buganda. You talk about politics at this, and many are thinking, okay, this is political demagoguery at play. We saw the president appending his signature to the anti-homosexuality bill, which is a good thing, but the opponents who say, hey, look, this gentleman is playing politics. Now we see this. I think it's just because he's doing this as we turn to 2016.
President Museveni is not Lionel Messi. President Museveni is not Louis Armstrong. Neither is he Usain Bolt.
Or Lupita Nyong.
He's not Lupita Nyong. President Museveni is a politician par excellence. So when you find Lionel Messi dribbling the ball, or as we saw the case of Arsenal yesterday beating up one of these small little teams that they walloped 3-1 or 3-2 to clinch a 4th place in the Premier League, then clearly you know that they are doing what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
President Museveni is trying to ensure that he positions himself not only as the trophy winner, but even perhaps as a member of the equivalent of the European Champions League. He always has to be among the top 4 in whatever he does. And so this is one of the things. But the question maybe we should pause, and that will be a discussion of the big story one day. When this money all comes into Buganda, what does Buganda do? Or are we not allowed to question matters of accountability in such a sanctified kingdom called Buganda?
That
I need to be
advised.
Those are some of the big questions that are going on. Government has just paid 2 billion shillings out of the 20 billion shillings that, there's still a lot of money to be. Of course, it's not even going to be paid in the next 5 years. But I must applaud the, Buganda kingdom for relentlessly going on and on and on about
and what I'm asking you is when it comes to Ebiafe, and that's what I'm asking. So when you get this Ebiafe, what happens? What is the trickle-down effect? I mean,
I hope we get to see that trickle-down effect.
I need to be advised, because when you see the Katikiro doing for most of the part, mobilization round robin, so much in drumming up Uganda sentiment, but also looking more, I mean, let's be honest about it. This is not so much about galvanizing Uganda nationalism. It's really moving around with a begging bowel. For me, I find that...
By the way, you see, actually, I may think this is actually a good thing, and the whole politicians
no one is saying it's a bad thing, but for me...
get to do this as well.
And you'll pardon me, and I'll have to declare my conflict of interest. I come from a society where every man is equal to the other, and we believe that you fend for yourself, and you don't have to go around begging. But when I see a category going around asking for a little grass search for here, for this and that...
I don't think it's begging. I don't think it's begging. We need to participate in building our nation.
Ownership, and it feels, by the category going around, it's like a wedding wedding meeting, yeah, when you feel like you've contributed to someone's wedding, you feel a part of them.
Okay.
So
to what extent do you feel a part of them? Like you have rights over their house, or you can walk into their homes.
I get money for Tafari, so I feel like I have. Right now, I can question him and these people. Why are they telling us that now the reconstruction of the Kasubitums has gone far? But before, I didn't have anything.
Actually, I would like to see
I have
this same happening in Buganda being replicated by government. You know, ensuring that Ugandans are part of what's happening around. Yes, politicians are the ones going around dishing out money. I would want to see a reversal where people say, okay, this politician is good. I think let's support them. Let's encourage them. There's this government program. Let's, as citizens, pump money into it. We need to see that. And
with all due respect to my next guest on this show, there's a little clip on YouTube making the rounds where essentially we know that traffic officers get, pick money of motorists. But there was a case in the US where a traffic police officer did flag down a young man, asked him to show his insurance sticker, and this man looked at him in the face and said, look, I can't afford the insurance sticker because if I do so, my wife and children will not have a meal. And what this police officer did, he picked out a $100 bill in his pocket, put it in a little receipt, and passed it on to him and said, you need this 100 bill more than you need.
We need to see
in this case, we are seeing something of a bit of a reversal here in character. I have clamored on this show several times that we need to see Ugandans taking the mantle of ownership of their country. And I've called for the massive taxation of all Ugandans across the divide, not taxing a few like us whose income comes through the proper payment system and we are charged by ye.
But everybody in this country pays tax, whether directly or indirectly.
Joel, when you look at the pay that you hard-workingly work for here on NTV, you deduct 30% in pay as you earn directly. And you want to compare yourself to a guy in my place in Bugangari who wakes up only to till his coffee and all that.
Yeah, but when you pay that coffee, he pays tax.
No. When he buys a matchbox, he pays tax. When he buys one matchbox, I Kasiate buys 10 matchboxes. When he buys a half kilo of sugar, I Kasiate consumes.
That's the level at which he is.
And guess what? Even that half kilo he consumes, for the most part, comes from me because when I go to the village, like I'm going to do over Easter, I am going to go fending for it. So it becomes a few of us subsidizing the cost of very many idle Ugandans.
I guess it's what Obama said to tax the rich.
Let's not try to posture around here and feel sorry for the people you call downtrodden. Those are the people who have worked so tirelessly to remain down there. They don't do as much as you do.
The point is, can we avail opportunities for everybody? 83% of this country's youth are unemployed. 96% of this country's youth live under $2 a day. Now, you might think that's a lot of money, but just compare it to how much you spend, for example.
That's 5,000.
Which is not a lot if you're to compare, to factor in feeding, housing, etc., all the amenities. Yeah?
I told you,
we need to ameliorate this country and
we need to provide opportunities for others. What about you who are working? Who came and presented opportunities on the silver platter for you?
Yeah, then let's be honest.
Look them in the face.
Other people.
Be honest with them. Look them in the face and tell them how much you have struggled to be here where you are.
Which is good, but you see, as you struggle up, can you take some people along with you?
There are even those who don't want to be taken along with you. I give examples of young people who you try to hold by the hand and show them the way, and they believe that you're taking them through a narrow and uncomfortable path. Always, people prefer the wider path.
Yeah, there will be those that are not so excited about working hard, but I'll tell you, there's some well-meaning Ugandans that would love to work hard, but there's no opportunities for them. Let's avail these opportunities to them. There are some that operate in a very lackluster manner. Throw them out, but there's those that
I think the best opportunity is to make them non-Ugandan. Well. Going forward in the news this morning, leaks are continuing to be leaks. There needs to be a fix that should be done with regard to how safely the police does keep its record. Now, the Kale leaks, as they are being twisted this morning, are making the rounds this time round. A conversation with the Deputy Lord Mayor Sulaiman Kidandale, who in the red paper, in the abbreviation part is also referred to as SK. Now, with all due respect to my dear Deputy Lord Mayor, there are only two SKs in this land. There's SK, Sam Kutesa, and then myself, Simon Kase. Now, I did not know Sulaiman Kidandala was also an SK, but Kidandala. But well, there we have it, that an interesting expose in these tapes, and of course the questions still remain to be answered. Who leaks them? How did they get to those tapes? It's a developing story. But talking of which, the opposition in Uganda has called on the Inspector General of Police to resign as a result of being unable to keep tapes. I think maybe their argument is, and you can read yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor, if you are unable to keep mere recordings, how else are you going to keep criminals like Mulonda and others away from society?
Did Obama resign
but for you on police bond, this man doesn't have.
Did Obama resign after WikiLeaks? Come on.
Well, that is WikiLeaks. Here it's playing live out in our face. But you see what the opposition is also saying is that Kaihura is now jailing so much with the NRM. which shouldn't be seen to happen, because as police chief, he should be seen to be
The opposition
impartial.
should even be happy that these things are leaking.
I would like to read something here in the Daily Monitor. Sanford Monitor gave us one paper, so we'll try and share it. This is somebody saying, I'm happy that our properties are being returned. What we want now is federal. And Baganda saying, you know, we want a lot
Now,
of
that's the other thing that Simon was asking about. Okay, they return all these things. What trickle-down effect is it going to have? Buganda says its youth need to be employed. They need to create jobs for people.
And I hope they will, with these monies that are coming through.
Yes, they need to tax.
I can,
you know, people.
bet my
Government,
livelihood.
of course, refused that. But Buganda wants to improve the quality of its people. And so when you return some things, they're able to collect money and develop all these
infrastructure. So somebody was telling me this morning, should I say it? That somebody was saying that, Mr. President, you've returned our properties. When are you going to return our country to us? But you see, Uganda, this country does belong to you, and it gets back to the issue of responsibility. It does not belong to His Excellency the President, ministers. We all, are partakers in this land. We should all serve this country as much as we possibly can.
By the President blind, for example, other kingdoms, and kind of puts them in a position where they think, we are, especially for cultures that don't have kingdoms, it looks like we are slowly getting stuck into the federalism debate.
Bunyoro and Toro are still demanding
comment on matters kingdom, because I, Simon Kasiat, happen to be a king reigning over my little nuclear family.
Yeah.
And that's how it is playing out in my where I come from. And I run them with an iron hand.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
Someone may answer, someone may reply after this statement that God forbid, but here we have it. Government plans home visits to teach parents how to raise children.
I saw this and I was thinking, this is wrong. Actually, on the front page, it is government to educate parents on child upbringing. Government, please keep to your turf, with all due respect, yeah? You are failing to fight theft in this country.
Themselves in government are poorly bred, poorly raised. Please,
now you're talking badly.
They manage.
No, but look, I don't think government has got the moral authority. I don't think they've got the time, because this country is grappling with so many issues that government needs to fix.
However, do we have this headline right? Maybe it's government plans home visits to teach parents how to make children or raise children.
It is on the front page as well. Government to educate parents about child upbringing.
Well, that's how they start, and before you know it, they will be coming to our homes to teach us how to make the children. Please don't.
Listen, maybe it's another context also, because, for example, in countries like the Norway, where they tell parents, if you work more than 6 hours, we are going to fine you. You have to leave home, go to work 6 hours strictly, and go back to your home to spend time with your family.
Yeah, they get back home and they are working on their laptops.
And in fact, for the most part, I mean, look, I am a quintessential example of perhaps what any ordinary utopian person would call an absentee father, for that matter. I leave home before the bulk of the children are awake. I return when they have slept. I only see them perhaps on the weekend and all that. Yeah. Now, that, to a large extent, really does hurt me. I do not have time to...
For your family.
But you see, these children will judge me very harshly when
doubt.
I have been giving them all the time that there is. And in the future, I have not safeguarded what they will use. When they are running over this town, begging friends like you who knew their father to help them fend. I mean, I come from a background where I was raised largely on the charity and mercies of friends and other extended families, simply because perhaps, well, unfortunately, I happen to have lost my parents at a very younger age. But you see, they did not foresee that they possibly would leave me much earlier, and so their forward planning for us was such that they just left us there without no asset or anything. So we begin from a clean slate. I do not want my children, for example, to go through the same. So I'll work, have 6 jobs, ensure that I have, if, God forbid, my life expectancy hits below the Ugandan average, at least there is something for my children to learn very close to. Of course, I'm not guaranteeing that they will use it prudently. I mean, we have all these children, they will take over whatever you've left behind and smoke it up in the air into just a plume of smoke.
If you have not brought them up the right way.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you're putting the things there, you're giving them a basic education. Well,
but I think, it's true to be helped out in this. I think that's where the church comes in. This is Easter week. We need to call on the church to do a lot more of this. I don't see government doing a good job at it. Churches.
Well, the same church now, according to the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, is telling us to stop greed this Easter season. Now, greed takes very many forms, including and not limited to the subject we'll be discussing more on the big story this morning. You can have gluttony and love for food, but also avoid the greed of imbibing too much alcohol that you can possibly handle, or else you'll be a nuisance to yourself and a danger to society. And we'll be discussing more about festive season drinking when we host the man we gazumped yesterday on this very show.
I will see how you do it. Afande Norman Musinga. I found the man here at about 6 a.m. I was thinking, dude, did you actually sleep here? He seems to be a disciplined man. I hope that is playing it, out in his profession as well. This paper that I hijacked from Mulondo this morning, the red paper, his favorite, we are told here 200 rebels raid Kampala. Okay, we probably need to be on the lookout. They also talk about Kidandala leaks.
Kale leaks. Someone there tweeting
now
yesterday that when will Kaihura get this TV or Kwalinga? When will he declare him as the enemy of the state for leaking all these things? Who gives
crime?
Well, now here we are. So as we conclude this press review this morning, we go down to the sports section of the Daily Monitor, which of course provides you, as always, a very good look into the local sport as well as regional and international sport. Let's not forget that your favorite pull-out, Seeds of Gold, to teach you how to use that soil profitably, is also contained today in the Daily Monitor. And of course, looking at international sport, away from the Premier League, we've seen the ongoing trial of Oscar Pistorius, that bladed runner from South Africa, who allegedly killed his wife.
No, and yesterday, what's in quotation is whether he did it intentionally. Yes.
Yeah, and so after cross-examination, we saw a couple of days of cross-examination that was even quite, for the most part, very intense. Yeah. And the prosecution lawyer saying that this man was breaking down deliberately to avoid very tough questions.
A lawyer friend of mine told me the same.
Yeah, and the debate is going on. Who is Oscar Pistorius here? Are we dealing with a guy that made the grave mistake of accidentally shooting his wife to death? Or are we dealing with a psychopathic killer who deliberately slay his wife over a domestic squabble that could otherwise have been sorted? And this is also playing into the whole issue of our sportsmen. We love them when they win. We love them and applaud them when they stand on the dice to receive those golden and silver medals that they win for us. But at the same time, we get very disappointed when we see the trials and tribulations of their personal life. Yeah. And this is a story that possibly could be played out for most athletes. And the warning call that, yes, at least we saw our steeplechase, and with all due respect to her, because eventually her husband has since passed on, her ex-husband. But you see, Dorcas Nzikuru went through a very tumultuous moment with her husband then, to the point that she returns home to her own house that she ran and sweated for. You remember the house that government built for her? Only to find her then husband, indulging in sexual activity with another woman in their marital bed.
Then apparently she removed the roof.
And removed the iron sheets and all. I mean, she could have had the choice of shooting her with a rifle, and then we would call her Dorcas Riforius. But clearly, as we see, they are normal people. They go through.
They are, but you see, it actually cuts across. Besides sports personalities, you see, when you are in the limelight, you become a victim of the critically magnifying glass of the public. You guys are on TV, and people don't expect you to live like everybody else. You know, they are critically looking at the way you do things, and probably it's a higher calling in many ways. You've got to live, a lot more carefully, and so whether you're a sports personality, a leader, or whatever the case might be.
To road rage.
May God help. May God help.
Well, we must thank Uganda Telecom for being magnanimous enough to bring to you this edition of Morning at NTV's Press Review. And yes, let's take a short break. When we return, we're looking at policing, but very specifically, traffic policing. And very specifically, this era as we come into the festive time of Easter. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Is brought to you by Uganda Telecom. It's all about you. 100 hash, select Chize and get the total amount you spend in a month refunded. This refund can be used for calls and SMSs to all networks for the next 30 days from Uganda's most affordable telecom service. Uganda Telecom. It's all about you.
Every idea we have begins with you. The way you connect.
Good morning.
How you browse. How you share. And how you interact with the world around you.
Your relationship with your God is the most important thing.
Have a company of people who have got a similar mindset. How do you want people to think, feel, and act after your talk? In other words, what's your objective?
You inspire everything. Because in the end, innovation doesn't really matter unless it does something that really matters to you. And we are HTC.
Asime. Asime. We are bringing your drink. Okay, don't worry. Mbasete zone mkoti yangu.
Sente.
Nzo wajemu.
Sitawanya demo mwenge.
Hani kutamubo. Ha? Nkuwunyirira bwanze nja kukuba.
Tonnaba kusasula myezi ebiri gya nyumba gye batubanja. Oli mukunywa mwenge n'abakazi.
Kikulu nnyo fe abeewola okumanya zi banka n'abatuwola engeri gye babalamu amagoba.
Lwaki obuuza ekibuuzo ekyo?
Sente zaabwe.
Dembe lyo ekyo kikulu nnyo okukimanya. Onfuna kikulu nnyo okusooka okunoonyereza tusobole okwetegereza n'okwekkaanya. Okifuna amagoba n'oluvannyuma tulondeko amagoba agasinzeeko okuba amatono.
Na NTV ate naddala mu bannaamu muli gw'emizannyo muli gw'ebyemizannyo gukomyewo 2014 ate mutya kati ate gukyusiza n'obudde gwa 7 gwali gwa 9 ne gugoberera ntusanyuka kati gulongereddeko wano malya g'ebyemisana awo gusooke gubatayize gubaleetire buli kintu kyonna kalondere n'ebyemizannyo olwo muli gw'ebyemizannyo mupya 2014 Isima waali alagira Argentina yenjo mukubira eddiba lye omukwano kujja kukomawo ku muli gw'emizannyo naye kasita kinatuuka eri bano ba Messi okulumba abalenzi baffe ba Thiago Silva awo tewali mukwano omuli gw'ebyemizannyo 2014 President.
12 beautiful girls all looking for love, and we guarantee that each one of them will go out on a date. But will it work out? Only time will tell as we follow their magical dating experience on Be My Date. Your personality will matter, and The Bachelor has to be screened by all these ladies. We're going to have fun as we find love on Be My Date. And whoever said finding love is hard, on Be My Date, we will break the rule. Finding love is going to be an interesting experience that you all want to be a part of. Be My Date is a brand new dating show that is a must-watch on the station that turns on your world. My name is Anissa Fabiola and I'll be your host.
To find a date, visit our Facebook page and inbox us your details. Be My Date, dating made easier. Coming soon on NTV.
A wife who you got through the office will be very insecure about you working in another place.
Always hunt up, don't hunt down.
You mean what? Go after your superior?
How dare you suggest that when a woman is aggressed against, we should look at the person who's been aggressed against?
Let the couple be. Let them sort out their issues. When they need you, then you'll come in.
Prostitution is being given a new brand.
All I know is that I connect people.
Let's not choose to open our zips and do whatever our urge is, because I don't think that an urge is stronger than your will to say no.
People attach a lot of questions, shame to HIV.
I do not believe that when you wear a short dress you should be a rep.
Marrying a wife is like having assured sex.
Anytime you come, you must have.
Yes. To raise a population that has no clue how to be men.
Can you bring out a quality family?
I don't get married for my family.
Men, every Wednesday only on NTV.
Ekifo ekimu kisawa musu n'ekyalo ekiweddeko abamanye bakiraza mumwa. Tugenda kutuuka gy'oli oyogere naffe ebikwata ku kyalo kyo, embeera mw'okolera, ebyobufuzi, ebyobulamu n'ensonga endala nnyingi. Ebyogerwa tebiyita. Tuusa eddoboozi lyo, yogera naffe buli lwakuna butereevu ku NTV akawungeezi.
Are you and I ever gonna have a chance to be sisters?
You want the baby to have my name?
Would that be okay?
So I'm happy you came. Yes, especially since I thought you were shunning all things Newman. I have my own reasons for showing up.
What did you say about him?
I'm sorry, attempted rape.
Okay, look, whatever you think you know about him, you don't know his heart.
If there is a way to make me feel more miserable, you will instinctively find it.
You gave up the one woman you loved, and now you're having a hard time figuring out how to move on?
I can't imagine who would want to hurt a good man like you.
Okay, you know what? I don't need you telling me how to feel about Lily.
Are you pregnant?
No. Then why are you trying to alienate Tyler?
Has something happened between the two of you?
Are you afraid that I'm going to do something to ruin your marriage, or that you will?
Why don't we have a party? I'll bring Nikki and bring your siblings. How's that?
Now, what are you going to do? You going to blackmail them this time, or are you going to bribe them?
Looks like Mommy's not the only one who knows how to make up a story.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
Thank you for watching this Wednesday morning. If you do have any questions or comments, please text 6565 or post on our Facebook page Morning at NTV or Twitter Morning at NTV. We now turn to Simon for today's big story.
A very good morning once again. Those of you just joining us, this is Morning at NTV and it's the big story with my name Simon Kasiate. Yes, the big story this morning, we are gearing down and of course closing into the festive season that Easter is, and of course, you know, for the most part, what way to celebrate in our day-to-day life than imbibing a bit of drink. And for the most part, those that are bad amongst us, or should I call them criminals, they take advantage of this period to steal, to commit murders and other atrocities. But for the part of the police, it's a call for more heightened vigilance and of course to ensure that they protect and serve us. At the same time, uphold the rule of law and of course the sanctity of society. But beyond that, we also have some questions to ask with regard to the modus operandi of the police, in especially relations to traffic operations. Guidelines to traffic. How should we behave in this festive time? Because we may merry-make, yes, we may celebrate the resurrection or the death of the Messiah, but how are we doing it to ensure that we stay and get out of it alive and kicking and productive to continue serving society? To discuss all these issues scattered across the board, we have with us the head of traffic operations in the Directorate of Traffic and Road Safety of the Uganda Police Force, which may soon change names to the National Police of Uganda. Well, here we have it. Afan Norman Musinga, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning to you, Mr. Kasiate.
I'll start from the point where I have issues with your modus operandi, especially coming in from yesterday's discussion on the big story, where I, as Simon, find it offensive if I were arrested on a drink driving operation to be paraded in the press, shown on TV, in as much as, yes, I could be on the wrong side of operation. But must you carry out this kind of exposés and inflict on my privacy to the extent of beaming me across the world on TV cameras?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Kasiate. What you're talking about is a reality, but I want you to understand the following. One is that when you look at the publicity, we are not limiting the press. We cannot stop the press to come and capture their scenarios. Absolutely. Now, when you stop the press to come and capture, then that one includes, or it means that
you are stifling their freedom of expression.
And in the process, you find the Uganda Police Force is conflicting with the press. Therefore, the police cannot invite you, or maybe cannot invite the press, because they know what they are doing.
Stop so right over there, Norman. They would want you invite the press, don't you? In fact, the press are embedded with you. They move with you on your operation pickups and other trucks that you use.
Yes.
So in other words, you are complicit in our massive expose and the breakdown of the sanctity of people whom you arrest. Is that fair?
Now, let me tell you, Mr. Kasiate, when the press comes and captures you, we are fighting the crime. For exposure, it means and includes that we are preventing the crime. The people tend to run away from the crime. As a result, we are curbing crime within our society.
But are you now turning yourself into a tele-police officer, that now you're going to carry out your policing on television, just like we've seen with televangelists, people who instead of holding churches, instead book space or even on television channels to preach the word of God? Is it getting to that now?
Now, what I want you to understand is that the place is not invited. But you can just simply, as you know, again. We are saying that the place is not invited sometimes.
No one say that again.
Sometimes the place is not invited. In scenarios where a situation we are carrying out operations, they have a right to come and capture scenarios. So in this process,
don't you, as the police, deserve the right to protect those that you arrest? The people, when someone is on the other side of the law,
yes,
do they lose every right, including the right of privacy, that you cannot say, excuse me, we are doing our work as police, and we asking the press to step away? I mean, there must be some levels of limit. If you are going to arrest someone, must you always go with beaming cameras and photographers around the place?
Now, let me tell you, sometimes the people who are captured are the victims.
Yes.
People who have fallen victims of circumstances. People who have been tested and they are found totally drunk. Absolutely. Now, we want, by
the crime of being drunk is what?
Why should we not expose these people? If they are actually there and they are in position to do their own work, I mean the press, and they are capturing these people, why should we stop them? They are doing their own work, and these people are actually a problem to the public. Now, we are sending a signal. We are sending a signal to the rest of the other people outside there that they should not drink. Now, that's the reason why.
Let's give an example here, and I'm sorry for name dropping, but because like you say, when you're in public office, you're under a lot of scrutiny. The other day, you had a massive expose of a man called Honorable Chamadid. Do you think after that expose, he has stopped drinking alcohol?
Absolutely, I want to assure you on this, that some people have vehemently, without fear and favor, refused even not only even testing on homes to sleep. Otherwise, it is one way of the other preventing the crime to be a center of degeneration within our community.
But Norman, aren't you biting the same hand that feeds you? These beer companies and we who drink the beer and love it so much are the reason as to why you have your wonderful uniform of you, because we consume, pay taxes, and the same taxes are used by government to pay your salaries, to dress you up so smartly like this, and of course cater for your welfare.
Yes.
Why are you going against an industry that, for the most part, one, I can assure you that the fact that drink will always be taken. That one, you as the police, even if you use the New York Police Department, you cannot fight and win that battle. So why are you going against the same industry that feeds you?
Now, let me tell you, we are not against the industry of processing beer and whatever. We are not against that. But we are trying to prevent crime. You see, the law is very clear.
You know, someone wants to joke that, you see, when I drink,
the law is
I
very,
get
very
drunk.
clear.
When I get drunk, I go to sleep. When I go to sleep, I don't sin.
The law is very, very clear. When you drink and you drive, it is an offense. And therefore, when police gets you, they arrest you.
That one is without a doubt, I agree.
Now, but everyone has a right to enjoy. You can enjoy, you have liberty to go at peace and enjoy yourselves. You take alcohol the way you want it. But remember that the law can get you. The police cannot leave you.
That's why no one is doubting that.
The police cannot leave you to die.
If your law is going to get me, must it come glaring like a Hollywood movie? I mean, do I have to be on TV for that? Have you had cases where people have sued you for, well, what you call an infringement on their privacy? Yes. If that happens, are you willing to?
No, but a person who has fallen a victim of circumstances, are you getting me? A person who has fallen a victim of circumstance, he has been tested and he has found being a culprit in the offense. Well, now, tell me, how can he challenge the police? Now, in this process,
he's not challenging you against being drunk, but he's challenging you against that indecent expose that you offered them, because the police doesn't run a press.
For us, we don't invite the press. The press will always invite themselves. If in any case there is a scenario.
Now we are begging you, when the press normally invites itself when you are carrying out other heinous issues. The press indeed has invited itself when you are in interrogation rooms, like we've seen with General Karika, who are talking to some people and the tape's leaking. He doesn't take that very lightly. Why don't you protect your victims of circumstance from the nosy press that keeps inviting itself? You want to tell me that you are unable to put a limit as to which line the press can cross?
Now, let me tell you, Mr. Kasiate, several complaints have always been emerging as a result of lack of professionalism of our police officers. They tend to exhibit sometimes a lot of mistakes. So by exposure, we are trying to protect the image of the force. We are trying to protect
right over there,
the professionals.
You fall right into my next question. Doesn't it bother you with all this talk going around that in fact this presentation of doing a very good job on TV and being all over the press, like many of you are prone to, is a way of bravado, of showing off that you're actually doing a good job as a decoy to the rot that you are possibly doing where the cameras are not shining?
No, let me tell you, that's not the issue. Actually, you are very mistaken. Because the whole issue is all about maybe people trying to expose themselves, rather to do their work diligently and professionally, such that the public can also see that you mean this is a very big problem that should not be repeated within our community. So that's the reason why sometimes the pressmen are not prohibited or are not limited from capturing the scenario of the operations
I
of the
will
police.
use the biblical quote. As you are aware, we are in the Holy Week gearing up to the, the death and resurrection of the Messiah.
Yes,
and
yes.
in one of his preachings,
Yes.
Jesus did tell us that when you are doing the right thing,
Yes.
with the right hand, do it in such a way that even the left hand doesn't know, doesn't even get to know.
Yes.
Can't you, as police officers, do your thing quietly and nicely so that your works speak for themselves, as opposed to you moving around with an army of journalists ripping off number plates of cars just to show that you're doing a good job?
Now, let me tell you, the whole issue, I think you're mistaken. You're mistaken about...
Correct me. I stand to be corrected.
Yes, I need to correct you on this. And I'm feeling very, very, very clear on this. That when these people invite themselves, when they come to any scenario, we cannot stop them. Now, there is a strong relationship.
Stop right there. I have been a journalist for the last 15 years. There were places
Mr.
where
Kasate.
I would want to invite myself.
Yes.
And many times the police has stopped me.
Now,
Say, there you cannot go.
Let me tell you this.
I remember I did break the story of a murder that took place in a banking hall at Garden City. The year was 2008.
Yes.
I happened to have arrived there before the police, but as soon as the police got in there, they said, Kasari, get out with your cameras. Because now I was at the scene of a crime, and the police needed to do its job without the glaring cameras that Kasiate had and his razzmatazz. Can't you do the same now with your traffic and Kawunyemu operations?
Let me tell you, my brother, it has always been very clear, and you know it better, that the police, under the leadership of the Inspector General Police, he has always been very, very clear by establishing the strong relationship that exists between the police and the press. Now, we cannot create an embargo. Now, and you just know that the press has always been interested in scenarios that are actually a vice to the community, a vice to the community, and actually that contravenes with the sections of the law. Now, in that process, we are looking at a situation where you are chasing away the press, the partnership.
So you're trying to create a partnership with the press. In other words, saying that now, from henceforth, policing work will be done with a glaring view of the press, will be done on TV cameras, will be done in the pages of newspapers.
So long as there is a crime being committed. So long as there is a crime being committed. And by publicity, I don't think that there is no need for someone to be exposed so long as he or she has committed a crime.
I thought that when someone has committed a crime, the moment the police comes in, that person is presumed innocent until proven guilty by a competent jurisdiction, which is a court of law.
That's why.
How come you parade people more like criminals as opposed to...
That's why they capture people, and I'm very happy with this. And I've always been telling them that don't make a mistake and capture anybody who has not been found totally drunk. I've always been very clear on this. I always tell them, anybody who is tested and found free from any alcohol content, meanwhile while driving,
put them on the side.
Put them aside. Don't make a mistake, because we want to chase away crime within our community, and we want to reduce the rates of accidents. Because now, when you look at our statistics, are clearly indicating that the majority of the people that are causing accidents within our community, they are absolutely found totally drunk while on steering. Now, that is our major agenda. That is our mission. And that's the reason why we are embarking on serious operations concerning about drink driving.
Let's look into your work as the head of operations in the Directorate of, is it Directorate now?
Yes,
of Traffic and Road Safety in the Ugandan Police. We are gearing down to a festive side. What are some of the guidelines that you are putting in place, you as a force, to ensure that we are on the right side of the law?
Thank you very much.
Because one thing is for sure, I can assure you, no man I will have my good beer, but I want to avoid being caught on the wrong side of the law.
I know, Mr. Kasiate. People have a right to enjoy themselves. You even have a right to go and drink. But mind you, you must you must bear in mind about conflicting with the law. So now, if you drive and you go on the steering and eventually they get you drunk, it is an offense. We shall arrest you, no matter whether you are celebrating Easter. Now, I have already issued guidelines.
Say, of course, no matter whether I am a good friend of yours from way back as it is, I know you would arrest me any day.
When it comes to the law, Mr. Kasiate, when it comes to the law, there is no friendship.
I understand.
And that's why sometimes I've always been getting challenges with some of my friends.
Please don't mention names here. I do not take responsibility of hosting
no.
I'm not going for the most part, we have joint friends.
I am not going to mention their names for the sake of the
Asang again.
Yes.
But somehow you'll beam them on camera.
Of course, they have been victims, and absolutely I really see that someone is my friend. But when it comes to the law, we are not a party. We are not a party. Now, you asked the question and said, why? How are we prepared? Which guidelines we have put forward? First and foremost, we have issued a guideline on driving permits. we have said that everyone must move with his original driving permit.
Yeah, well,
the reason,
you know that for the last 3 years you have kept my driving permit.
Mr. Kasiate, the reason why we are interested in the original driving permit, it is very simple and very, very clear. Some people have been found forging permits. They get a photo of someone, put it in, and they duplicate. And in the process, they end up producing a photocopy of someone else, which is forgery. Now, that's why we are insisting that someone must go with an original permit. 2,
what about we are afraid to move with our original permits because you, the traffic officers, when you find us on the road, for any little misdemeanor on the road, the first thing you do is take away our driving permits. Yes. And therefore, you render us unable to even drive the next mile. Yet, according to the law, I am allowed 48 hours to deliver myself and my driving permit the nearest police station to come and answer the charge I have.
It's because several times, very many offenders have been issued with tickets and they have failed to pay. I want you to quote me clearly. The other day I was exposing some permits that are they are at the police station. We are just wondering who are the owners of these permits.
Well,
now, and these people, listen to me. And these people on the radio that are on the road driving.
Perhaps they are.
Yes.
I do not know.
Now you wonder where are these people getting the second permit from. Now, it is right to investigation. We cannot go in that.
Yeah, there's an entire room in CPS that has got all our driving permits.
Yes. Now, among other guidelines, we have even talked about people not to drive DMCs or dangerous mechanical condition vehicles.
There will be no car on this.
Yes.
How are you able to tell between a DMC and a
no, let the people go and work on their vehicles.
Especially when you have a country that allows in all these 15th-hand cars proliferating into the
Mr. Kasiate, let us be realistic. Several times accidents have been reported occurring, more especially the fatal ones, as a result of bad tires.
Stop right over there. How about roads that are not car-worthy? You see, you're talking about cars that are not roadworthy.
Yes.
But for the most part, we also have roads that are not car-worthy. I am, for example, after this show, going to drive to Ginger.
Yes.
You know that there's some construction work going on the Ginger Highway.
Yes, yes,
but somewhere along the way, there's a section of the road that is simply not car-worthy. I feel so sad when my immaculately worked on car has got to hit such a bad road. Doesn't it bother you as the police? Or do you ever give feedback to your other arms, sister agencies in government, like the Ministry of Works, to ensure that we have proper roads before you can come out and tell us whether we have proper cars?
Absolutely, what you're talking about is right. Because there are very many factors that causes accidents. We cannot exhaust them as per now.
As the police?
Yes, as the police. Now, but I want to assure you on this. Even me personally, the other day I was in Ginger to conduct some sensitization program on border. So now, I traveled from here. Along the way, I met several obstacles. The road somehow is not clear. But I want to assure you this, that UNRA is doing its own job. And the police is working hand in hand with UNRA department to ensure that at least there is stability on the road.
So no driving, you must have driving permits, you must have a proper car that's not a DMC. What else as we close the program?
Drinking, driving. Don't drink while driving. Don't drink
normally,
and at the same time you drive.
Normally, I drink first, then I drive later.
Yes. Then there are these people, the buses, that normally car out excess and at the same time they make return journeys. Those ones we have banned them. Even the fuel tankers. These fuel tankers which are normally entering into the state center, during the day, and then cause havoc, or sometimes we are in a congested jam, and in the process they have fuel, it may burst and all of a sudden very many people die. So eventually we find that it is very, very necessary to put some strong measures for Easter season to ensure that at least there is a discipline on the road. We are trying to discipline the drivers. And our laws have even very, very, very clear. And even the operational guidelines have already been saturated all the commanders in the whole country, such that they know what they are supposed to be doing. Even over speeding. I want to caution the public about
there are speed limits on every road.
The speed limits. Of course, there are speed limits within the city center. There are speed limits within the highways or the little towns, as you are saying. Now, we want to put a sustainability in terms of our statistical data when it comes to accident issues.
Thank you very much, Norman, for coming in here. We are talking to Afande Norman Musinga, who is the head of operations in the Directorate of the Traffic and Road Safety of the Uganda Police. He is, of course, here to discuss, among other things, the guidelines the police is putting in place to ensure that we have a wonderful festive season. Let's take a short break. When we return, it's Simon Says. There you have heard it. For the most part, to avert crime, police has got to embark on serious sensitization, and the sensitization may take the form of great expose in the mass media. I still remain unconvinced with regard to whether or not if I am being arrested or if I have been arrested for whatever crime, let alone drink driving, should I be subjected to the glaring face of cameras, especially if I'm not a terrorist, that people need to watch out for me. But well, that's the debate that keeps raging on, and we are going to continue this debate on whether we, the media, are working in complacency with the police, or are we doing our job of exposing people, or are we, in other words, playing the role of averting crime through exposés, or are we falling into the trap of infringing on the privacy of most or many a Ugandan that we can enforce with. Let's look at the guidelines for the festive season. Of course, we all love our lives, and in fact, the police cannot claim to love our lives more than we love them. So the first point of safety with regard to us must be ourselves. Are we able to indulge in whatever activities we do to such a limit that we are able to then be able to drive ourselves home? Are you able to drink and drive? If you are not able, and you can tell that you are unable to drive, find an alternative route, or for that matter, sleep in the bar. Whatever it is that you choose to do, let's go out of this whole festive season safe and clear. But what about our general conduct on the roads? For the most part, we've got many cars on the streets that have behind their wheels people that would border on the word idiots. You have people that cannot drive, or even when they drive, they are simply not alert to the fact that they are on the road, and they cause not only a danger to themselves, but the danger to the community. And that's where the police comes in to help curb the situation. But that aside, we also have a situation where we've got police doing a job that falls way below par, something that is quite not unexpected of them, or perhaps even below measure. What extent is the police looking into themselves to ensure that the police officers they put on the road are up to the task? All these are questions that do not have a direct and immediate answer. We can only debate, pontificate, and embark on the infinite journey to make things perfect. I must thank again Norman for honoring our invitation to be here, and of course for being a meticulously smart officer, always very smart, come rain, come shine, and we hope that the smartness in body will follow in the smartness of operation, so that we can have many of you like you in the police force, so that at the end of the day we have a police force that we are proud to associate with.
Yes. Have
a wonderful morning. Wherever this day takes you, it's a wonderful sunny Wednesday morning. Keep it profitable, and of course, keep yourself pious, and let's not forget, we're in the Holy Week. Only a time to feel holier than holy. Thank you, Norman.
What's that?
That document.
Oh, that. Just some business.
I came to apologize. I have no right to interfere in your lives.
I've eliminated the only evidence that links me to Ivan Chinawa's death.
But you didn't have to kill another person.
It's not like I've got anything to hide, Nene. Just go ahead.
Victoria, how is it like to work for Miles Vilagazi?
Blood seemed to matter not.
Blood?
Yeah, blood.
I'm responsible for your father's death.
You can bring everybody in parliament as long as they can wake up and vote for the NRM.
As long as the voters exercise their rights to elect their leaders, there was no need for term limits in Uganda.
I know him. I know how he operates. I know how he thinks.
There are ways you can go around these obstacles.
Why should I conduct myself as if I am Muyai?
It's absolutely true. I admired the President Museveni.
Is the ICC a fiscal code targeting African leaders?
You cannot tell me that the whole trouble Kenya had revolved about only 2 individuals.
The money is not in the budget of this financial year.
You can't beat God. You see, God is polygamous also. Look at Jeremiah chapter 31.
The security of this country will largely depend on the contribution that the people make.
Oluvannyuma lwa lutalo abaana bangi batwalibwa abekika era bulala basigadde
abamu bajja ne babakima
era twagenda mu Lukola eyo ina Kasongola mu Buluri twagenda mu Butale babalaaro okubuuza omwana oyo mumanyi
nti mukwate obutonde obwekonkome mukwate obutonde bwa Ebola mubuteeke mu nsigo omuzungu ayogedde parliament buyise bosi basajja omulembe guno gutuusemu n'abantu n'entondo kati waliwo n'emyaka egy'entondo
waliwo yakiŋŋamba
bamugamba muŋŋambe bulungi kati munkwate empola
dokita buli akwata bayibuli eno ajja kusomera bintu nga ye bw'alowooza. For example, waliwo controversy yaliwo.
Tobeera mu ssuuti ate n'oteeka mu gganduula.
Olina kubeerako kimu.
Beerako kimu.
Kubanga okusomesezza tumaze emyaka 2 tusomesa bannayuganda. Eddembe lyammwe mulimanyi oluusi n'obusobozi obulina.
Nakulabira Abaganda. Abaganda baagala Kabaka.
A wife who you got through the office will be very insecure about you working in another place.
Always hunt up, don't hunt down.
You mean what? Go after your superior?
How dare you suggest that when a woman is aggressed against, we should look at the person who's been aggressed against?
Let the couple be. Let them sort out their issues. When they need you, then you come in.
Prostitution is being given a new brand.
All I know is that I connect people.
Let's not choose to open our zips and do whatever our urge is, because I don't think that an urge is stronger than your will to say no.
People attach a lot of questions, shame to HIV.
I do not believe that when you wear a short dress, you should be around.
Marrying a wife is like having assured sex.
Anytime you come, you must have.
Yes. To raise a population that has no clue how to be men.
Can you bring out a quality family?
I don't get married for my family.
Men, every Wednesday only on NTV.
Me? Oh, you give me way too much credit.
You know what? You got what you want. But what shocks me is that you don't care at all about Hakim and Lulu.
What was that? That was me trying to save the two of us. At the expense of someone's career? A man's got to do what a man's got to do to survive. All I need is answers.
How about you stay away from my reporters and stay away from my newspaper?
Hakim could be Mabel's son, but that's yet to be verified.
But where do you get all these stories from?
I'm a journalist, but what I don't buy...
If you spend less time on the phone, you should probably move up to speed.
Oh gee, thanks for the advice.
I am your mother, not one of your cheap whores, and you need to show me some respect.
Running out of airtime can happen to anyone. The next time you recharge, simply dial *161# to get going again.
On the next episode of Login.
This week on Login, Bullion movie premiere.
French, it's a French name.
The title is so interesting, Bullion.
Ballet. And the back to school theme night.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Don't miss this and so much more this Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. on NTV.
Login.
At Orange, we know that running out of airtime can happen to anyone. That's why we bring you Wetase. Simply dial *161# to get going again. Convenience changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat. Follow the beat. Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat. Follow the beat. Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
I was going to my hall, someone came from my back and was
How? Tugenda okwera kekiro. Yanga mwami omanyi?
I went to the nurse and I asked why is it that our father is negative and for us we are positive?
Every time I find a story of assault of one person to another, I get disturbed.
Mwayombye ekiro lwaleeta suzeewo lwe bakwokezza nazeepoza kimu nti mujja wange yanjokezza
kino ekyafa kino kyali kyakulira muno mu lubuto.
The Irene I know just loves music and loves to sing. I've never seen her even smoke a cigarette.
The days of legal trade in slaves are history, following its abolition in the 1800s.
They tie you like this. That's when I started getting past.
Everybody has a story, but yours will only become our story when you share it.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
Well, thank you for watching Morning at NTV. If your birthday is today, you celebrate it with Pope Benedict XVI, who turns 87 today. He was born Joseph Aloysius Ratzinger in 1927. He's currently the Pope Emeritus of the Catholic Church, having resigned the position due to ill health. You also share your birthday with 37-year-old Alek Wek, the first really dark-skinned model to grace our catwalks. She's actually from South Sudan. And Aaron Lennon, who plays for the English national team and also plays for Tottenham Hotspurs. Today is his birthday as well. And on to some of your questions and comments. We had Norman Masinga, who is the head of the traffic operations on today's big story. Some of your comments. Isaac says, we always hear about drink and drive, but where does the money collected from those drunkards go? How do they spend that money? And then we have traffic. We have Kim Mulondo saying, thanks to the traffic police, good work. And then someone says, I think the police are right. What they are saying is that don't drink when you are drunk. But guys, is that kafuemu or something? I don't know what they actually mean, but let me salute the work done by the traffic officers. Continue with that. And someone says that they think Afande Musinga is doing a great job, probably destined for bigger things, but he may lose steam. That's according to Cleophas. We now turn to Brian for today's HTC moment.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
And gentlemen, thank you so much for staying with us up to this time, 17 after 8. And what a power-packed morning we have had. Norman Musinga, head of operations, with us this morning on the big story. And joining me is the ever dapper Ritzy Joel to just talk, on react on a few talking points.
We look like we have, you know, those straight talk poses. I'm told UCU students in particular have them a lot.
On their flowers, like
you hold like a flower
and then
like
a mobile phone. Eh?
Hey, you seem to know these things well.
We've been there before. Joel, a couple of things here. One, Norman says we are trying to create a partnership with the press to fight crime.
You know, it's actually interesting. It's just that in Uganda we do not follow the, we are not so aggressive when it comes to the rule of law in some cases. I'll tell you, if somebody gets serious, they can actually sue police, yeah? They say, okay, well, I made a mistake, let me pay the fine, but I'm going to sue you for defamation, for putting me, before the glaring view of the entire public. Somebody can actually sue for that because in many ways it infringes on their privacy. However, of course, police is saying, look, we are sending a message out there to the rest of everybody, because when you see somebody on the screen there, you're thinking, no, I don't want to go through the same thing. Yeah, so it's a tricky situation. It seems to work both ways, and again, it seems to, to be the undoing of both sides.
So Norman would then be justified to say, if people are actually drunk, why shouldn't we expose them?
That's the privacy issue, because it's one thing to make a mistake, but because we are all human, we do make mistakes, yeah. But at the end of the day, should you expose me that much before the glaring view of the of the public and that kind of thing? But of course, police is saying this is the deterrent. When we do this, the rest of everybody will be a lot more careful. Whether or
Right.
not it works is another issue. But I don't know. I would think they should be a little bit more careful. It's not. I mean, it's just like if somebody commits a crime, if your child does something, you don't want to say beat them up in front of literally everybody because you're saying I want them to learn a lesson. They'll not do it again. You want
But
to be a little
is this a kind of a preventative measure that, man, I don't want to be exposed on TV, so, you know, let me behave?
Without a doubt. When you see that, you're thinking, I want to be a lot more careful the way I do things. If you have been drinking and driving often, you're saying, hey, maybe I'll take less, maybe I'll not do it at all, or each time I drink, I should have a driver with me. But look, truth is we've seen many people debilitated as a result of drunk drivers. You know, we know friends, I'm sure you know a few people that their lives have totally changed. Why? Because of a one drunk driver. Some of them actually, when they're very drunk early morning, you see them driving. Instead of the other side, they are driving in this lane.
When we are coming to work, they almost want to ram into us.
Usually at that time, there are those that are returning home. So I think what's clear is that something needs to be done. Whether or not this is the right thing to do could be another. It will take a bit of time to establish. Does it actually work when you expose them?
All right. Joel, of course, thank you very much for your insight. Norman also saying some people have been found forging driving permits. So you need to move with your original driving permit.
Yeah, at NASA.
Yeah, the law is clear. When you drink and drive, it will get you.
And I hope they can sustain this. You see, the problem I have is that, they usually do these operations, and then after a few months, it all dissipates. I'm thinking, look, if you do not sustain this, Ugandans will always take you for jokers. Seat belts, speed governors, helmets, etc., etc. They just do it very briefly, and the campaign dissipates. So people are thinking, this will also end in a short while. They need to sustain the operations. Some people know they are serious.
Right. Well, Norman Musinga earlier telling us that they collect 50 million shillings every weekend from drunk drivers. I hope, I guess that will be a motivation for them to keep the operations going. But of course, our advice to you as NTV is to make sure that you drive safe. Otherwise, you need to make sure that you arrive alive. Joe, pleasure, man. Thank you so much for joining us. And I want to quickly call Alan from the Serena, Kampala Serena Hotel.
I was going to offer her a seat, and I'll offer her a balcony.
She's the owner of this, so let us sit. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you? Looking very
well,
beautiful this morning.
Thank you.
Not playing golf?
No, I'm not playing golf this time.
Right. Easter is coming up.
Yes.
What do you have for people this festive season? Is there any special 6-course meal?
Oh, Brian, it's not only 6-course meal. And this time you better bring along your wife. Yeah, it's like an 8-course meal, but it's a buffet. And we have that for Friday, Good Friday. We have a dinner, and it's going to be only 130,000 Uganda shillings.
That's per person?
Per person. And the children, it will be 70,000. Then Easter Sunday, we have again a buffet for lunch and dinner, and it's going to be 100,000 per person. Then for the Easter Monday, we have again a buffet, a whole range, and it's going to be 85,000. Now, this also goes for Lake Victoria. Lake Victoria, the Easter lunch is going to be 85,000. However, accommodation, we are doing a package. And for $851, you can have 2 nights at Kampala Serena and a complimentary night at Lake Victoria.
Wow.
Or you can choose to have 2 nights at Lake Victoria and a complimentary night at Kampala Serena.
So it's about 3 nights, really?
It's 3 nights. And wherever you'll be, it's inclusive of lunch and a foot massage.
I've never had a foot massage.
That's why I'm telling you, you should bring your wife. And I guess she's listening.
I've never had a foot massage. I need to work on that.
And by the way, that package, you can also bring 2 children below 10 years staying with you, and we'll include them in the package at no extra cost.
And you'll get those, what do they call those rooms where the kids are in the other room? And
no, this will be if your child is in your room. Because the rooms are big enough.
Right.
If you want your child to be in the other room and what it's called connecting room, then you just pay an extra $387.
Right.
Right.
Well, thank you so much. Always do. I'm definitely coming for the dinner Sunday night.
If you're nice to me, we can talk.
Oh, okay. Okay, so all
right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, for the rest of you, I don't know what you're doing this Easter season, but make sure you can come by the Kampala Serena Hotel, not just here in Kampala, but also in NTV at the Ranch on the Lake, called Ranch on the Lake, where you can see, you have a bird's eye view of the lake and play some golf over there, and have a fabulous Easter celebration. Coming up, your HTC moment. Good morning.
We started with the goal of bringing the power of computing into the hands of people around the world. From the beginning, we were designing many of the world's first touch and wireless handheld devices. Reaching out to our partners and setting no limits on innovation, we produced one of the most popular touch experience devices of the time. We were building smartphones before the term smartphone even existed. We then set out to make the most versatile smartphones, including ones that let you use either a touchscreen or a keyboard. We saw the potential of 3G early on and introduced the world's first 3G Windows mobile smartphone. We changed the way you use your fingers. Based on our research into gestures, we gave you the intuitive and easy-to-use HTC Touch. We then announced a new way for you to experience the internet with the world's first Google Android smartphone. To give you the most personal experience, we introduced HTC Sense, a user experience that fundamentally changes the way you use your phone by making things work the way you expect them to. We once more revolutionized the industry by launching the world's first 4G Android smartphone. We integrated Beats audio into our phones to deliver the most authentic sound experience, enabling people to finally feel the music the way the artist intended. We created a one-of-a-kind phone with an amazing camera that outperforms most point-and-shoot varieties. Most recently, we once again set the industry ablaze with the new HTC One. Critics have hailed the new One with its full metal body design, a live home screen, photos that come to life, and dual frontal speakers as the best Android phone of the year. Curiosity and ingenuity have defined our history, and we're recognized by the industry as one of the world's most innovative brands. We've come a long way, but one thing hasn't changed. It's people like you that inspire us to create the most innovative products in a world that becomes more connected every day.
A very good morning to you. It's 27 after 8. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now this morning, yesterday we asked you a question. Name the three hosts of Morning at NTV on April the 1st, 2014. Their correct names and of course where they work, and send the answers to 6565. Good luck to all of you, and make sure you send those answers to 6565. Not Facebook, not Twitter. The platform is SMS line 6565. You'll get into a draw where you could be lucky to win the HTC Desire 300, courtesy of HTC. Quietly brilliant. And good luck to all of you. I'm telling you, you can be a winner. These phones are monster gadgets, and I own the HTC One Max. It's beautiful. Now, the World Health Organization estimated that by 2005, at least 1.6 billion and 400 million people aged above 15 years were overweight and obese. This is very threatening. We'll be looking at obesity in children, especially in Uganda. What causes it? Who is to blame? And is it the behavioral patterns that we need to change? From a medical perspective, what can you do as a parent also to help your child not to be overweight? Coming up on Everyday Life. Good morning.
It's the first thing you see in the morning and the last thing you see at night. It stresses you out. It calms you down. It helps you remember. It helps you forget. It keeps you connected. It's the only thing you own that is always within an arm's reach. Which is why you don't need to get a phone. You need a phone that gets you, and you, and you, and we are HTC.
Everyday Life is brought to you by...
And we are HTC.
In Africa, despite the prevalence of undernutrition, statistics have it that 25% to 60% of urban women are overweight. But it's not just women, even the men, and very increasingly, children. This morning, we're going to look at obesity in children and how we can help them overcome this. And joining me is our very own Dr. Sabrina Chitaka. Good morning, thanks for coming.
Morning, Brian.
Your clip went viral after the telephone thing, and people
are still trying to buy the phone receiver.
Yeah, and especially in pink colors.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Obesity, you know, we've always known obesity in adults. Where you go and measure your BMI and try maybe go to the gym and try to work it out. But now it's children.
Yes.
With the work that you do, you're a pediatrician, what numbers can you give us? How serious is this?
It's actually becoming an increasingly serious problem. And maybe before we even decide on why is it serious, we need to define what obesity is. Because obesity really is a body mass index of more than 30. So if you do a calculation of your weight and divide it by your height squared, okay, it gives you a certain figure of kilograms per meter squared. And so the normal average should be between 18 and 24. That's normal. But if you go beyond 30, that is obesity.
You're overweight.
You're obese.
When
if
are
you're
you?
Between,
so there's a difference between overweight and obese.
Correct. If you're between 25 and 29, you're overweight. If you're 30 and up, then you're obese. And unfortunately, we are having more and more children becoming obese, even right from infancy. Kids are becoming obese because their parents are overfeeding them. They are not doing enough exercise, and then some of them are genetically predisposed. One of our postgraduate students did a study among the urban schools. This was about 4 years ago, and found that the prevalence of obesity was 17%. That is extremely high.
Among
children aged between 6 years, that's P1, to 12 years in P7. So that's absolutely high. Although we know that in Uganda generally we shouldn't be worried about obesity because people are broke, people don't eat enough.
Yes.
We have a high level of malnutrition, that's underweight.
And that's a confusing thing now.
About 42%, yes.
What happens in a country where we don't have anything really to feed our children?
And then you know, we have a middle class which is becoming increasingly big, where people think that eating chips and chicken, I'm not saying chips and chicken is bad, but if it is eaten in big volumes, then it's a problem. Because obesity is really an unbalanced equation where you have excessive food, no exercise, and then your body is not using up the food, and then you just keep gaining weight. Unfortunately, people have this wrong notion that if you're overweight, if you're bigger, you're mafuta mingi, you're rich. But in fact, you're unhealthy, because if you put on weight, obesity is really a marker of what is going to happen to you in the future. People who are obese are very likely to suffer from joint pains. Their hearts are likely to become weak, because the heart is the size of your fist.
That's a cardiovascular...
Your heart, yeah, it's the size of your fist. And it can only pump out blood so much. So if you're overweight, your heart becomes tired, it starts to pump really hard, and then it becomes weaker and weaker, and so you develop heart failure. But before that, you even develop hypertension and all the complications that come with it, including diabetes, renal problems and all those things. And then people who are obese are really not confident. So as a pediatrician, for me, I'm very serious about encouraging parents not to let their children become overweight and then obese.
What excuses do the parents give you
the parents,
when you're working on their children? And
they keep saying, you know, my child has to eat what they want. And you know, my child loves sausages and chips. But if you look at the lunch box, this parent has packed 5 sausages, 1 big bucket of chicken, and that's lunch. I mean, that's a bit too much for a little child who only needs a certain number of calories.
Right. Well, man, this is so confusing because it's very unfortunate that now, even now in rural areas, what would then be the reason for rural areas? Because obviously, the food they grow is cassava, sweet potatoes, you know, they'll eat some dodo, but even then, obesity is a problem.
Well, in the rural areas, I don't think obesity is a real problem. I don't think we'd get numbers like 17%. Because remember, the children in the rural areas walk to school, they fetch water, they do a lot of exercise, they are overexerted, their energy levels are overspent. And then they share very little food, you know. But for those people in the rural areas who are going to popular schools, they are driven to school, they come home and drink a tank of milk, obviously those are going to become obese, right?
Right. If you're just joining us, I'm with Dr. Sabrina Chitaka from Makerere University Medical Department, talking obesity in children and what we should do to help them. You talked about predisposition, genetic predisposition. How is that?
So there are certain genes that make you obese, and they just run in the family. Some people eat very little, and then they just gain weight. So there's actually genes that have been marked to predispose you to becoming bigger than other people. Yes.
How do you even fight that? It's natural.
It's
how
natural.
Do you fight that?
So you really have to struggle, and such people have to watch. If in their generations they've had really big people, then they have to be conscious of their weight. But I also want to take you back that in the first 1,000 days, 60 days before you're conceived, and then towards 1,000 days when you're around 2.5 years, determines a lot of what your weight will look like. So if your mom, 60 days before you are conceived, is eating poorly, then you're stressed as she's pregnant in the body, then you're likely to become obese, by the way. Stress and obesity has a very strong relationship. And then, you know, when moms are feeding their babies with a lot of formula milk, a lot of milk in the early infancy, all the fat cells build up in the back, the adipose cells. So when somebody grows older, those adipose cells spread out throughout the body, and then they are likely to imbibe more fat, and the person becomes big.
And they stay there even...
They stay for life. So what you feed your baby in the early days really matters on how they will be in the future. So if you have this firstborn baby and you think, oh, overfeeding them, every time they cry you're pumping them with milk, that's wrong.
Okay, now you're freaking me out because I have a very, very healthy baby. And
just make sure you're not overfeeding them.
Now I'm really getting freaked out because, you know, those are the things that are like, oh, my baby has to have yogurt, some fruit,
and
some
5
milk.
eggs, you know.
Yeah, or they might have some banana.
No, banana may be okay, but you know, the body converts every single food you eat into eventually fat. If it's not expended as energy, it converts into fat, and that's the problem.
Right.
So you should have the capacity to break the equation, you know, so that you eat enough for you to spend energy and grow, not to spend energy, have excess, which converts into fat.
Right. 2 things. 1, any behavior changes that parents should make, and 2, recommend any healthy foods too, because now let us kind of start switching from maybe cut less of yogurt and increase this, do this and increase this to help our kids.
Well, I think that parents need to understand that children must eat a balanced diet and most importantly have a healthy breakfast. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and it's very important that everyone has breakfast, because if you do not feed your body converts the energy into fat once it comes in.
That's strange, eh?
And then lunch should be moderate, and dinner should be early. If you compare we do the reverse. We have big loads of dinner, and then you go to sleep, and all your body is doing is converting that energy, which is not being expended because you're sleeping, into fat. If you compare generally sizes of the world, and you look at Chinese people, they are really small people. But if you look at their meal times, Chinese people eat dinner at 6 o'clock. And by the time they go to sleep, they are hungry. And it's okay. It's okay to go to bed when you're hungry.
I used to do that like 7 years ago when I was working in that kind of environment.
You need to do
where
your
food
BMI.
was at 6 p.m.
Brian.
Yeah? Where food was at 6 p.m. so you had to eat.
Yeah, and also parents need to side with all of us and take their children to schools where they are asked to do exercise. There are schools which are PE. There are schools which are emphasizing a lot of read, do homework, and the poor kid is there sitting and not doing anything but reading, is driven to school, comes home, and all they do is TV or homework.
Right.
So there's no exercise at all. The child is not expending the energy.
Right.
Parents can also have, you know, take their kids out to, we don't have many parks, but
yeah.
There are places
that
you know,
I think I know time to play.
Munyonyo, wherever, where the kids can go and run around.
Right.
And then a bicycle. Today they are cheap bicycles. You don't have to buy a mountain bike or whatever, but do some exercise. Or sometimes walk to the shops. They don't have to be driven all the time or on a border. People have to exercise.
If you stay in... let me see. If you stay in Kamocha, once in a while, walk to Garden City.
Exactly. Why should you be driven to Garden City, and then at Garden City, all you're doing is eating?
Eating ice cream.
Eating.
Foods.
Yes.
Healthy foods.
Yes, healthy foods. Fortunately, Uganda is the basket of Africa, or used to be the basket of Africa, so we have lots of healthy foods.
Right.
And really, for me, I cannot recommend a particular food. I think people should eat what they like. You know, one man's meat is another man's poison.
Yeah.
But it should be balanced. Balanced in the sense that as children are growing up, they need more protein. So more meat, more fish, more beans, more, you know, protein.
Right.
And then less carbohydrates. Because carbohydrates quickly, the pathway for carbohydrates to convert into fat is very short. The pathway for proteins to convert into fat is longer. So it's better for people to eat more protein and less carbohydrates. And then to eat a lot of fruit, because fruit is really like a cofactor to help our enzymes, to help our skins look better, all those things. So people need fruit.
Right.
And most importantly, water. Parents have decided not to give their kids water. They are giving a lot more juices, packed juice, soda. I saw a child of 9 years drinking from a 1.5 liter bottle of Coca-Cola.
What?
And I was in shock. And the poor kid was tanking the whole, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
So we need to be careful.
Well, this morning, Doctor, you know what? We'll probably pay a visit to Mulago or something, because
well, in Mulago, you're more likely to find malnourished children. But the children who are obese...
In their pediatric what?
Yeah, many of our patients are from the poor rural communities and they are really malnourished.
Right.
But for you to see children who are obese, you need to go to some of these posh schools where my children go. Fortunately, my children are not obese. They exercise a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, their mother is a doctor, so surely it would be very bad for you to... Now, there's a study that was conducted randomly in selected secondary schools in Kampala and in Kamuli district. More than 95% of, 70 to 80% of the population living below the national poverty line. We know that. But for Kamuli, they were at least 2 kilometers away from the urban centers. But they discovered that most of the kids in that school, 75% of the children in the Kamuli secondary schools were obese. That's really strange. And of course, 83% of the children in Kampala schools were obese.
83% is high. I need to read that study.
High. I'm going to share this with you. I'll share it on our Twitter handle too. It's really very scary.
It's scary.
Yeah.
That's too much. That's like seeing nearly all the children in this city obese. Which is not the case.
Yeah.
But the study that I know for sure, which was a well-done study, showed 17%. So 83...
The national...
83 looks like.
Yeah, in selected schools.
In selected
Yeah, they did in selected schools in
Okay.
Kamuli and Kampala
Wow.
districts. Well, a parent, maybe this was a point for you. You are going to go to the fridge, get that, you know, nice big breakfast for your child and lots of fat. Maybe you can put in some fruit. Help your child starting today. We'll also be sharing Dr. Chitaka's numbers so that you can talk and help your children. Make sure they live healthy. Isma is standing by with the sports. Good morning, Isma.
Good morning. When Brand joins me, won't be throwing tantrums this morning because Arsenal are back in 4th place after beating West Ham last night. We'll also be talking about the Copa del Rey final later tonight as Real Madrid play Barcelona. Of course, Madrid will not be having Cristiano Ronaldo. And then Michael Phelps, the greatest Olympian, who is coming back to the swimming pool. We'll discuss a bit of that. And then we have a guest to talk about the 5-a-side tournament. I know Afande Norman Musinga was just on the show a few minutes ago. Will want to see this because all the people who spend their lifetimes in bars or part of their lives in bars will have a tournament. We'll tell you why it's important when Morning at NTV gets back.
Well, in exactly 90 seconds, we'll be back with the sports update. Good morning.
Everyday Life was brought to you by...
And we are HTC.
Wangula Cash with Orange. Play and win up to 100 million shillings. Simply SMS the word WIN to 156. Answer simple questions and earn the highest points to win. Win 300,000 shillings daily. Win 750,000 shillings weekly. Win 2.5 million shillings monthly. And win a grand prize of 25 million shillings. Wangula Cash and become a millionaire. Each SMS costs 800 shillings. Opportunity, happiness, fun changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
She was molested when she was 6 by someone she trusted.
The doctors finally walked into the door. They basically were telling me that she had a 5% chance of living.
I couldn't understand how somebody that tells you they loved you, that held you as a child, could abuse you.
Tommy Scott grew up among gang violence, drugs, and poverty in the projects of South Central Los Angeles.
I felt not normal, not good. I wasn't lovable.
As a teen, Melissa discovered that drinking gave some relief.
Tommy is free today and continues to tell people that it was Jesus who changed his life.
The time I spent in prison, I spent putting my ideas together on, how I was going to come back and make it all right.
And I realized my purpose, that I was created to reflect the glory of God.
Duke now realizes why God kept him alive.
These were real people facing desperate situations, just like you and me.
Jesus died to set you free, and he can give you a new heart.
Oda, I no go stop to the singing.
No problem. Keep singing. This singing will put you in trouble very soon. You won't believe it's the boy's father that inflicted such injury on him. Just because he stole 50 naira. 50 naira for that matter. That man should be arrested. Oh, how God. How I wish I could just see that man and give him a piece of my mind. Abigail, I don't care if you're chatting with Barack Obama. When you're at work, you learn how to detach yourself from that phone else to get you into trouble.
Whatever. I mean, you should be happy that a pilot is asking your friend out. My brother, I learned that 3 armed robbers tried to rob a man as he came out of the bank at the junction before the express. Don't try to be the hero.
You won't kill me. Do you know how long I've been waking you up quietly and you refuse to wake?
Now you can't interrupt someone.
I'd like to pray with you, nurses, being the vessels that the Almighty God has been using to heal his people.
Okay. Can someone please talk to me? What is going on?
Who is she?
See, I hate cheating in my life. I hate cheating and nothing will make me have 50 kobo to that money I already get you.
running out of airtime can happen to anyone. The next time you recharge, simply dial *161# to get going again.
On the next episode of La Patrona.
Bino assured me it wasn't Maximiliano Suarez who attacked him that day. Please, let's go to the clinic, Ricardo. No time to waste. Don't look at me with fear, Espino. I'm not here to take revenge on you. There's no need. Alberto was looking very calm until Antonio stood before him. Then he started to panic.
Listen, Patricia, the doctor assured me that a patient in that type of critical condition can become upset over anything. It doesn't mean it was my grandmother's visit.
As soon as you finish testifying against Maximiliano, Macario will give you the rest. Leave this town for good, my dear.
Do you also think my grandmother's a witch?
I just think you shouldn't expect too much help from your grandmother.
La Patrona.
At Orange, we know that running out of airtime can happen to anyone. That's why we bring you Wetase. Simply dial *161# to get going again. Convenience changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
Twelve on to 9. Thank you so much for staying with us. This morning is really power-packed. Norman Musinga, Dr. Sabrina Chitaka, and I hope that you're taking something for the day. And we head on to sports. Isma, as usual, this time, dude, you're looking like, you know, Prince Wasaja or Charles.
And I do have pictures of Prince Wasaja's wedding when he was wearing that basket. He really looked nice. So is
that your inspiration?
My inspiration is to have a wedding, whatever type it is, where we have cake and ice cream and reham soda or something, provided it's a wedding.
As long as it's a wedding. And seasoned, almost veteran Mark Namanya, good morning.
Morning.
Thanks for joining us.
Welcome.
Your commentary is obviously very, sometimes annoying, but very insightful.
About Arsenal?
Especially about Arsenal. So today I have you. Five-a-side football is starting this, the tournament is starting this Friday. Tell us about that.
Well, five-a-side is a fun tournament. It's to be played amongst sports bars in Kampala. Teams will be formed from the sports bars in Kampala. And it's basically a fun competition. You know, the kind of thing that Kinetic have done with FNL. They're trying to do it with soccer right now, but just a fun element. More fun than competitive, you know. Right. And I mean, I've seen Isma working out every evening to try and look like Jordan Henderson, which is quite a good thing. So beyond our passion for football, right? On TV, supporting Arsenal and supporting KCC and the Uganda Cranes, I think we can involve ourselves in the world's most popular game, and basically that's what five-a-side is all about.
I think I know about two sports bars, really.
Yeah, I mean,
what other sports bars are there?
Well, a series of sports bars. There's Panamera, there's you have Asylum, which I'm going to play for.
Asylum is a sports bar.
I'm going to play as libero for them. Yeah, Asylum. Yeah, and there is, I mean, Fusion. There are quite a number.
How do you even keep tabs of the names of all these bars? Because they sound 256.
Yeah. Route 256 is next to Katikati, right?
It's next to Lugogo, and Lugogo is the home of sports. So, as any sport-loving Ugandan, you've got to know Lugogo and its environs. So, Isma, if you don't do 256, then I'm afraid I don't know what you're doing here.
Okay, there's someone out there watching this show and thinks he goes to his bar. How can he register to get into the team for the bar? Is it only staff for that particular bar that can play? Or I'm a regular at that band I could join them?
No, I think you just, I mean, I can't say frequent Asylum quite often. It's just that the proprietor is a close friend. And I think that team had so many gaps which I have to plug. Yeah. So I've come to bring in that language element in their team, which is why I'm signing for them. But you could play for any team. You could play for 256. You could play for Gabiro, for instance. You could play for Fusion. As long as you're registered. You have to register to play for a particular bar. And then there's a transfer window as well, after I think 3 or 4 weeks.
But wow. If I register to play for Panamera for the first 3-4 weeks, if I'm not registered in that time, we can bring in new players. If the players we have at the start are not doing well, we can sign Brand, for example.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, if you want to be relegated, you can sign Brand. But if you want to win things, if you want to win things,
you sign Mark.
You sign Mark. So yeah, I think it's going to be fun. It's not free of charge. There will be entrance. I think 5,000 shillings, and then there's also a VIP. It will be played at the hockey club at Lugogo, starting this Friday. And I think if it's half as good as FNL in terms of appeal and glamour, I think it will be a success. This is just the first season of five-a-side, and credit to Kinetic and credit to the sponsors who've been on board, among which are obviously Scoop and Score of the Daily Monitor, of which family I belong to. I think they've done some fantastic job, and Friday I think is a must-watch for all the.
You know, we've always said on this on this particular show, that sport needs, you know, people that not just promote the sport, but add a fun side to it, so that we get more people celebrating this. And Kinetic, yes, big up to you guys for doing this. Now, the most successful Olympian, Michael Phelps, is back. Is this the right move? With them, is he bound to fail?
I can imagine Mark sitting there, but I'm one of those people who is anti-comebacks. And for the major reason that you're never the same. The moment you walk away, sport evolves at such a rate that when you come back, you're never the same. But who are we to even discredit Michael Phelps? 22 Olympic medals, 18 of them gold. How many sportsmen have that kind of success? So, and actually, so when he's deciding to come back, we probably want to feel that's the right move. I thought when he went away back in 2012, he went away too early. He opted to leave the sport because he said he had been swimming for over 20 years, been in the swimming pool since he was 7. So you could almost sense that it was a bit of unfinished business.
Right.
Whether he can come back, I don't think he can come back and compete at the same level, because we all know the kind of swimmers that go and perform and win the gold at the Olympics are not at the age of Michael Phelps. That's 28. They normally come at the age of 22. Remember Ian Thorpe back in 2000, and then Michael Phelps when he came in back in 2008 in Beijing. Then that kind of age group between 20 and 25, 26. By the time you get to 28 in swimming, while you're hitting your peak in football, in swimming you're going down.
I think the history of comebacks in sport, and there are several examples you can cite: Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, Zinedine Zidane. You know, they're usually laced with a tinge of regret. You know, I mean, Michael Phelps is the greatest Olympian there's ever been. Make no mistake. I mean, that's a given. The thing is, can he better
what he did?
What he did, you know, the only thing he can do is to worsen what he accomplished. Absolutely. I mean,
do you think he'll at least get any gold?
The thing is, I think he's still good for gold. I mean, when Michael Jordan came, he still had a couple of 40-point games with the Washington Wizards, but he was never going to do, I mean, the buzzer beaters and the three-peats which he managed with the Bulls for so many other factors. You know, he had the team, he had the youth on his side, he had the drive, he had the hunger. Phelps won't have the hunger, most certainly.
Right.
You know, I can see a scenario where, I mean, when Zidane came back from retirement for France, he carried them to the final. Actually, France weren't going to qualify until Zidane came out of retirement, and then he carried them to the final. But the lasting memory of Zinedine Zidane is the headbutt with Marco Materazzi. You know, and yet ultimately it ended in dismay for the French. We appreciate Zidane, the footballer, but I'm one who is inclined to thinking that, I mean, sportsmen, great sportsmen, legendary sportsmen, once they quit the stage, they should just go away. I mean, Michael Schumacher, he was never going to win in the Grand Prix.
You know, I've always thought, for example, people like Seaman would have retired when Arsenal was at its best. People like Tony Adams, I think, did a great move. He retired when Arsenal took the double. But then you become, now look at Ryan Giggs. He's going when he's sad. But let's. Good luck to Michael Phelps. We hope he'll do something. Arsenal managing to, you know, get back into the top 4 last night.
Extremely pleasing, I think, for Arsene Wenger after they went a goal down and came back to win by 3-1. I think there was a bit of nervousness. I think a moment when Matt Jervis scored that opening goal for West Ham. But the 2 goals from Podolski and eventually Olivier Giroud, one of the most maligned strikers in world football. Especially, I enjoy probably Giroud's goal more than all the others.
Right.
To take 2 touches on the ball at that height, stop the ball with one and kick it with the other into the back of the net has got to be a lot satisfying. But while Arsenal are doing their business, they're back in the top 4. everyone should be celebrating. And I think they'll have the advantage because they have a bit of the experience. They've been in this situation of fighting for 4th place year on year, and they get past it. Even when they needed other teams to beat up on Tottenham for them to get into 4th, like against West Ham a few years ago. West Ham beat Spurs by 2-0 on the final day and got Arsenal back into 4th place. So you've got the feeling that even the situation where Arsenal have not won many games recently, because for me this was their 4th win in their last 13, and I think 4th in their last 12 in the league. If you look at the FA Cup, you don't count what happens after the 90 minutes. So they've not been playing, and I don't think they were brilliant last night.
Right.
But sometimes you win games without necessarily doing so well, without necessarily doing well. And that's what Arsenal is supposed to be doing last night. And good result, I think, for everyone at the Emirates. And you could almost sense the relief on Arsene Wenger's eyes when they got back to take the lead at 2-1. You could almost, it wasn't satisfaction. It was relief.
Thank God.
Thank God we are here.
Right. Shouldn't Arsenal be watching Everton now?
I think they have to. Everton are looking very, very good. They have the momentum. They won their last 7. And they have a tricky run in, but they have the momentum. When I watch Arsenal, I look at a team which is not sure. They lack a certain conviction about their play. And because they're a team which is bereft of leadership, and this has been my biggest criticism with Arsene Wenger all these years. I mean, he's been in England for how many? 17, 18 years. He inherited a team which had leaders. That team which he inherited from Bruce Rich had, I mean, Tony Adams, there's Martin Keown, David Seaman, Ian Wright, all these were leaders in their own right. I look at the Arsenal, the post-unbeaten Arsenal, you know, and they've had a certain softness about them, you know, and when it gets to March, April, May, you need mentality, you need character. It's the kind of ingredients I see in Chelsea with Terry and Lampard,
Peter Cech, in Liverpool. Steven Gerrard has offered it for years. Jamie Carragher had it. In United this season, notwithstanding, they've had it in abundance. When I look at Arsenal, very good players, but a certain softness about them. You know, they don't have that mental cohesion to carry them in these later stages. And I think
which are very crucial.
They're very crucial. While Everton have the trickier games because they've got to play they're both Man City sides, they've got the momentum, and both games are at Goodison Park. This Arsenal is a team which I think is one slip away from losing hold of the momentum.
Well, we'll see.
He's a very worried Arsenal fan.
I'm very worried.
But I think in the greater scheme of things, I think this should be Arsene Wenger's last season.
I definitely agree with you.
And Everton, we talk about do host Crystal Palace tonight. It should be an easy fixture, one of the easier ones they will play, especially knowing that Crystal Palace have almost booked their status in the Premier League next season. But then they'll have that tough one on Sunday. Depending on how you look at United, whether United is tough or not, when Everton do host Manchester United on Sunday, that's a totally different issue. Whether Everton do get that result. And if they do, Liverpool have won 10 in 10. For Everton to get past Arsenal for 4th, won't they need to win like 12 or 13 in 13? How possible is that? In recent times, the only teams that I know that have gone and won 14 games in a row probably been Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Bayern Munich. And Everton would be in that kind of height if they went on and won 12 or 13 games in a row. But if they do and finish 4th,
I think it's not entirely impossible. They won 7, and that's remarkable. They're defending well and they're scoring the own goals. They have a very decent coach. They have no critical injuries. Lukaku is scoring the goals. Naismith is scoring the goals. I think Everton is capable of anything.
Well, Arsenal, Banange, please pray. Now, the El Clasico between Real Madrid and Barcelona is on tonight. Barcelona has suffered 2 losses. Is this an opportunity for them to take something home?
I think it should be their last opportunity to win the league. I know Marquia wants Atletico Madrid to win the La Liga. Barcelona out of Europe. You know, they were knocked out by Atletico. So you look at this as Tata Martino's last card, because it would be catastrophic for the Barcelona of the years gone by to spend an entire season without winning a trophy. And you know, in the times when Barcelona was so dominant, this was the escape route for Real Madrid. When they won the Copa del Rey, it felt like we've done something, we've got one over Barcelona. Now, Barcelona in that kind of situation. They've not been playing well. They were very poor at Granada. While they could swing the ball left and right, they were barely doing anything in front of goal. So you look at it that they'll come into this as underdogs, even if Madrid don't have Cristiano Ronaldo on the pitch. Barcelona will be clear underdogs because Madrid, while may not be playing far much better than Barcelona, but at least they have a lot of comforts. They are still chasing that league title. But if, for example, Atletico slip up twice in the league, Madrid will be there to pounce. They're still in the Champions League. So Barcelona come into this as underdogs, and you've got to seek that kind of big night that Messi has not had in weeks. I saw him against Atletico Madrid over the 2 legs was inexistent. At Granada, he barely showed up. So you need that kind of night from your best player if they're going to get a result against Madrid, which I think is going to be nearly impossible. Right. They are going to concede. Mascherano and Bartra are as good as me and you would be as a defensive partnership. So in that kind of sense, you see Benzema, Bale, Di Maria, Isco coming at them with that kind of pace. At least Madrid almost guaranteed 2 or 3 goals on the night.
I wouldn't want to watch a defensive partnership of Isma and Brian.
I was once a good. I was actually a striker
of a dozen.
I was a striker, so I used to score.
But it's my beg to differ. I think Barcelona have not been playing well.
Yeah.
But Cristiano Ronaldo is 65% of Real Madrid. With
someone will make the argument they've scored 8 goals
and Benzema. Granted, when they're playing other teams and not Barcelona. Yeah. And I think Barcelona are now favourites. For the reason that had Ronaldo been there, they would have been, I think they would have been odds-on favourites, huge odds-on favourites to win the title, the Copa del Rey. Without Ronaldo, he takes so much out of their team, especially for the game against Barcelona. Barcelona are going to hog the possession. Yeah. That's a given against Real Madrid. It doesn't matter how bad Barcelona have been, they will dominate any team in terms of possession, even Bayern Munich or Pep Guardiola. The challenge, though, is that on the break, and Real Madrid have thrived on the break against Barcelona countless times. Yes. They're going to miss Ronaldo's his speed, that edge which he gives them. Just one quick break, and there's a ball is flighted into the path of well, that was then Piqué and Mascherano. And there's catastrophe because for me Mascherano has never been a defender, and you're clean on goal. Now they're going to miss that bit. Gareth Bale can do it, but he's not Ronaldo. And I think I would make Barca not just marginal favourites, actually favourites, because without Ronaldo, I don't think Barca Real would hurt Barca as much as with their Bartra and Mascherano at the core of the defence.
Well, you'll talk more sport later at 1:30 p.m. with Ismail, Lumansi and Alan. And of course, you can check out Mark's criticism of Arsenal's leadership in the Daily Monitor. We'll bring him back also later when his Bar has lost the game, and we'll be asking whose leadership it was. But yeah, Sports Bar also coming from Club Silk every Monday at 10:30 p.m. For now, your African Proverb. Togome Andrew this morning giving us the African proverb, he who is destined for power does not have to fight for it.
I know the president here, Yoweri Museveni, lost an election for head prefect in Intare. But he eventually had to fight for it. I wonder how true this is. How many people have power in this world and have not had to fight for it? Mark, do you know any?
No. No, certainly not.
You have to fight for it.
You have to fight for
but I think the important thing he says power is destiny. Whether
it always comes.
Yeah, I love the way, for example, the power basketball captain Joseph Ikongores tells me that all kind of leadership comes from God. And I look at certain leaders and I'm thinking, this is the one God chose amongst us. Then we are probably 10 times worse.
Right.
But power is destiny, by the way. Because when a president loses an election for being head prefect in Intare, and ends up ruling over 32 million people. That's destiny.
I think just to supplement on Isma, the greatest statesman of our time, Nelson Mandela, was never, the most, the smartest of that ANC leadership. There were decent guys, Oliver Tambo, and a few other guys, but there was something about, there's certain charisma about Mandela, which was so much detested by the anti-apartheid regime that he's the one they wanted. Even when there was apartheid, he was the one whose images were banned and the name was, there's something about him. So that's why I just think...
Yeah. Like for us, Arsenal, we're going to take the FA Cup. Even in this Premier League, we are destined to win.
summer. Yeah.
Well, it's been awesome hanging out with you from 7 o'clock till this time. We'll catch you tomorrow, same time, and make sure today you change someone's life and be a champion. Hasta la vista, baby.
NTV, turning on your world.
Smelling nice and being tough can go together. The freshness of fabric conditioner is now combined with the best ever stain removal